Hello Poi people, and welcome to this tutorial about antispins and inspins, which I believe is one of the most important concepts in Poi. And even if you're familiar with that, then I still recommend you to watch this tutorial. You might realize some things that you haven't realized before, or you might get some things in context. What are antispins and inspins? Like we all know, like you might know all these, antispin flowers and all these, things. But inspins and antispins have important features that you need to understand to be able to combine them together and, understand some more techie moves. So here we go. What is an inspin or antispin? It is a combination of a move of my arm and a lot of small circles during that movement, either in the same direction, which is inspin, or in the opposite direction, which is antispin. So you see that in antispin, the poi is spinning in different directions than my arm. And my arm is going that way. The poi is spinning that way. That's why it's called antispin. And in inspin, both poi and the arm is going in the same direction. And what we need to understand is the amount of circles that the poi is doing during that movement of the hand, and the amount of pedals, and those two things are not the same, which actually took me a while to realize. So in inspins, you see those little loops, that's what we call pedals, right? And in inspins there's always like one pedal less than there are circles. So if you have two pedal pattern, two pedal inspin, it's actually three circles, and I'm going to explain why. Whereas in antispins, there's always one circle less than there are pedals. So in four pedal antispin, we actually have only three circles, which is very important. Like for visual and for aesthetic reasons, you really want to know how many pedals there are, how many of these loops there are, to be able to paint the shape in a nice way. But when it comes to combining those two things together, or perhaps even combining antispins and inspins together, as you might know these antispin versus weaves patterns, then it's very essential to be aware of how many circles each of these patterns have. So let's talk about two most important antispin patterns, which is three-petal antispin, also known as triquetra, and the four-petal antispin, also known as the four-petal flower. And their parallel inspin twins, the one-petal inspin flower and the two-petal inspin flower. So the first one we're going to talk about is the three-petal antispin, which is this. There are two important things I said, right? Two features of every antispin move that we need to pay attention to is the amount of the pedals, which obviously you can see there are three. And especially you should focus on the tips of each pedal, as you see that each of these pedals have its tip, right? And that tip is pointing some direction. And based on which direction it's pointing, that's what makes you do the pattern nice. And you can also decide to, make it pointing up, or make it pointing to the left, or make it point to the right, or make it point to the bottom. And the other important thing, the amount of circles, which is not three as I thought for years, it is two. Because for every circle needs to have a bottom, right? There is not a circle without the downswing, because since there is gravity, this is what indicates to our brain a circle. So you see when I do the triquetra, even though there are three pedals and three tips of these loops, there are only two circles. One circle on one side, and the other circle on the other side. And I connect these two circles, once through going to the top, and then once skipping, if I'm doing the triquetra, which is pointing up. Once going up, and then just going sideways. So this is the way to learn. You basically just want to, let's say you spin in counterclockwise, and you spin on the left side, and then you want to go from left to right. And so you want to count these downswings. 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And when I now start circulating my arm in a circle motion, so when I go from left to right, I'm gonna go up with the hand and let the poise slide down on the other side, and then I just skip. I go back to the initial position. So from left to right to the top and back, left to right and back, and then when I do it continuously, it will become the tri-quadra, three-petal anti-spin pattern, or Mercedes, or however you want to call it. And of course you have to practice that, and it's gonna take time, and it's gonna just hurt you many times. You're gonna hit yourself and everything, but eventually it's gonna be clear. One thing you should focus on is not twisting your hand at any moment up, but always keeping your hand still. It's a common mistake that people twist their palm up, and that's gonna result in breaking your plane. So don't do that, okay? And you wanna start paying attention, to where the tips of these anti-spins of these pedals are. And for that, it's very good to have a mirror or some visual reference of the movement, and also learning to see it. So you want those two pedals to be, in the same height, if this is the tri-quadra pointing upwards. And yeah, you want to learn to correct yourself. So a mirror will help, but also maybe playing with LED foil will help too. And yeah, through time and exercise, you're gonna make it nice and clear. Now, what is the in-spin parallel move to this? If you paid attention in the beginning, you will know that that is the one pedal in-spin. Because, look, this is one pedal in-spin. That one pedal, that one loop, which comes together with extension, I do one small circle, one big circle. Small circle extension, small circle extension. That can be anywhere. It can be at the top, or it can be on my left side, or it can be on the right side, or it can be at the bottom. 1 and 2. Yeah, and if you've tried this, you'll probably already know, or you can feel that there's this extension which we do not have in the anti-spin because it's anti, so that extension is out of the game, and that extension itself is a circle too. So that's why if we have two pedals, or say now we're in one pedal, so if we have one pedal, there are two circles in this pattern, the one pedal and the extension itself, because each circle needs to have a bottom. And if an extension is a big circle and it has a bottom, right? So of course that counts too. So you can see, like on this example, where the bottoms are, one bottom at the in-spin pedal and another bottom, another downswing at the extension itself, which means two circles, which means that you can take the tri-quadra, the three-pedal anti-spin, and the one-pedal in-spin, and combine them together in many different ways, which I'm briefly going to demonstrate. And actually, I've already demonstrated it if you watch the tutorial about these, how's it called? Body tracing versus anti-spins, and it's a move, it's this one. So you see, this is essentially the same. It's just that the pedal is behind the head and it's isolated. But it's a movement where I have one pedal and extension. I could also do it just like this, in front. So you see that the orange paw, my right paw, is doing the tri-quadra, and the left paw is doing one pedal in spin, and the timing is preserved. I could also choose to do this in another timing. I could say, okay, I want to do this in split time opposite direction in fire, but then the hands will go together, and this might remind you this pattern, which is very popular. But this pattern is hybrid because I'm doing one circle with the hand, which is extension, and the tri-quadra. So the timing is 2-1. If you're going for this move, this is important to know, because You know, the antispin, you see the blue poi, which is doing the triquetra, it does 2 circles, whereas the extension hand, which is the orange poi, is doing only 1. So if you train that, perhaps you want to first learn to do 2 versus 1 circle, and then slowly start to circulate your both arms together and expand and open it into that move. But we're talking about moves that should be within the timing. So let's continue. So just okay, well, I'll show you a few more combinations of inspin versus triquetra where the timing is preserved. So, you know, you could choose to have the inspin, you could have a triquetra which is pointing sideways and inspin with a pedal on the side, and that would be this. Or you could have the same but on the other side. See orange poi doing antispin. Oh. Or you could have a triquetra which is pointing downwards and then have that inspin at the bottom as well, because you want the inspin pedal to align with one of these antispin pedals. And then you can start bringing, you know, things behind the head, and then you will discover that you can do this, which I'm already teaching, or you could do, well, let's not get too crazy, right? All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the 4-petal antispin, which is very popular because, you know, of the flower and all the nice pictures and these traces and light rays that we can catch on a photo. That one, it's important to realize that this works in a diamond, right? Let's talk about the visual side of that move. The tips of each of these petals, one tip is at the top, the other one is on the side, then there's the next one on the bottom, and the next one on the side. So when you have a look at it, so hope that looks good. So as you can see, there are 4 petals, right? On the top, bottom, on the right and left, and there are 4 tips, right? But there's only 3 circles because each circle needs to have a bottom, right? The point needs to swing down. So you can see where those bottoms are, and you can see that, you know, the loop on the top petal, just like at the triquetra, doesn't have a bottom because it's only a connection between the circle on the left and the circle on the right. Therefore, we only see 3 clear bottoms, and then when we do that, what we feel is 3 downswings, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is exactly how you should practice this move. So in the beginning, it's perhaps more important to be counting those circles than paying so much attention to the pedals, because you first need to master that movement and learn your hand how to, you know, operate in this antispin motion. And then you will focus on the aesthetic part of it, which is focusing on where the tips of each of that pedal is, and then you kind of try to count all four of them. But in the beginning, what is more important for your brain is the amount of circles, which is 3. So when you practice, you want to maybe start like on the side and go down and left and back to the right. So you're going to count like 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3. Hello. Right. And I encourage you to, you know, work on this in all these directions. So that means, you know, one direction with the right, another direction with the right, one direction with the left, and another direction with the left, to be able to, you know, be very flexible and, yeah, don't be limited by timing, by directions. And yeah, then when, again, I recommend having a mirror or just some whatever kind of visual reference so you can really correct yourself. It's really important to be able to see your own shape, you know. It's easy to see it in the mirror or on a video, but you should learn to kind of see that then when you actually do it. And it's a never-ending challenge to do this move nicely. And as you can see, maybe I still suck at it. But through exercise and focusing on the good timing, you will get there. There's a common mistake, and that is that like these side pedals are somehow like this or like that. For instance, that people put like after the bottom pedal, this pedal is too low, and that results in that other side pedal to be too high. So basically, that's something you should really pay attention to. And imagine you're standing in a box and focusing on these tips of each of these pedals to really like hit the wall at the height of your shoulder. So, you go to the bottom, to the side, top, side, bottom, side, top, side, bottom. Simply a mirror. Mirror will help. Just try to adjust your pedals to be nicely on the sides, and it should be good. Alright, what is the parallel in-spin version? Or what's the parallel in-spin move of this? It is the two-pedal in-spin. This is the case where the pedals are on the side. It could also be with pedals at the bottom and the top. But let's talk about this with the pedals on the sides. So here we can clearly see the bottoms of each of these three circles, 1 and 2 and 3. We see that the extension, and we mainly feel that when we do the move, that also has its bottom, right? The extension is a move too, is a circle too. So that means that 3 circles, just like with the antispin. Obviously the in-spin is easier, so when you practice that, you just want to do side, side, down, side, side, down, side, side, down. Or you can do this top and the bottom. You can see that in this case the poi hits the ground twice, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. If there was no gravity, if you were in space, then this would not be the same. But we have gravity, so this is how it works. Right, so then you can combine these two together. When you start playing in wheel plane and start practicing, your 4-pedal antispin flower, which is a whole other story, by the way. Then in this wheel plane, you can combine these two nicely. So you can take the in-spin with at the top, at the bottom, and the 4-pedal antispin, and combine these together. And as you can see, the timing is preserved. It's not like one hand is doing different amount of circles than the other. It's all the time water, split time, same direction. That's one example. Or if you are playing in wall plane, you can do this one. So a combination of 2-pedal in-spin when the pedals are on the side, which is the orange poi, and 4-pedal antispin, which is the green poi. And since these two things work the same and they have the same amount of circles, they go nicely together. When you practice that, you want to start on one of the sides, and then one hand is going to go up and the other one is going to go down. Make sure the antispin poi really goes straight to the ground and back up on the other side. And now the same hand is going to continue in antispin but going up. So look at the green poi, goes down while left is going up. And now the green poi continues in antispins to the top, antispin to the bottom. And your left might want to do circle, or the in-spin hand might want to do circles on the way, but you're just gonna train it and practice, and you will get rid of these extra circles, and you will discover the water timing of this move. But yeah, if you just started with antispins, combining the antispins and in-spins together is gonna definitely take a while. You need to have a good control of the antispins, and only then you can combine them with in-spins, by the way. But I just want to show you the examples, or then there are other possibilities. This was in water. We can can stay in water, but we can move our arms up and down in air. And we can do this, etc. But this is getting very close to the combining the elements tutorial and topic, which I'm going to shoot here later on. So I don't want to skip that. So yeah, this is mainly to let you know that the antispin, 4-petal antispin, and the inspin work very nicely together. They're made of the same amount of circles, therefore they can be combined together. The last thing I'm going to talk about is a cap. What is a cap, right? And how you, and also this goes along with the idea of changing direction of the hand while I'm doing the antispin. So a cap is a looped continuous antispin pattern. I mean, I've already explained this in 2 of my previous tutorials, but I just want to put this in context of this tutorial. So you see, like the 4-petal flower, I can loop any half of it, which could be this half, or this half, or this half, or this half. So 4 different halves. And each of these halves can be a cap. So if I loop that, go back and forth, that means I switch from antispin to extension, antispin to extension. That's the cap. So I can have 4 of them, one facing bottom, the other one facing side to the left, and one, pointing upwards, another one pointing sideways to the side. Then that the same with in the other direction, 4 of them, and then the same with the other hand. So actually there are 16 caps that you can train. I'm not saying you should, but perhaps you should. Yeah, so at any time of the 4-petal antispin, you can decide to switch the direction at any of these 4 cardinals and loop that. And you can either, just like change direction into extension, and that at any of these points to switch it back to antispin, or you can just take a half and loop a half inside of that 4-petal antispin at any time and make a cap. And again, this is gonna take some time to practice. Some of these caps are less comfortable than others, but still very important. And the cap, just like the triquetra, has 2 circles, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. So extension, antispin, extension, antispin. And you might see a similarity like between, for instance, if I take this cap, which is pointing upwards, see that the difference between this cap and the triquetra is the bottom side of the move. Like this is the same for both of them. But in cap, the hand goes on the same line back before it continues back to antispin, extension, blah, blah, blah. Whereas in the triquetra, the hand is going to cut through the bottom and then go up in the antispin, right? So you see triquetra, cap. So a lot of moves that you can do with triquetra, you can then do with a cap because it's the same amount of circles, 2. So you can also combine caps with inspins or weaves or whatever other pattern is also made of 2 circles. Alright, I think that's enough for this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. To be followed by how to combine elements together by using inspins and antispins, and how to basically make your own moves based on this idea. So I hope you had fun, and pura vida. Ciao from Costa Rica.